All right. We are here for a very special episode. Well, I guess all of them are special. Of Game Chat. And as I promised on the podcast, every episode I will have a new name. This week I'm Fermi Jackson.
Fermi Jackson.
Fermi Jackson. I actually named my character in Dark Souls Fermi.
Fermi.
Well,
suck it to me, baby. Yeah.
So, I'm going to do a little thing right here for you on the video. I'm going to switch to my fire spell, and it's going to look like I pull it out of my ace. There we go.
Ooh.
Alright, so I'm here with Justin from the
Hi.
site. He has reviewed the game.
Yes.
He's played a lot of it on every machine.
On every machine.
So, I'm going to be dying for your pleasure. So this is not representative of him playing. This is me.
No.
And that's why it's bad.
That's why it's bad.
See,
But at least you admit it.
Hey, I have never been delusional about my terrible skills at this game.
It's okay.
All right, so let's just jump right into it.
Yeah.
Dark Souls 3, you've played a lot of it.
Yes.
So coming into Dark Souls, what has been the big change to this particular entry?
I think the biggest change, honestly, I mean, again, the game is pretty much at its core the same style, but little things like bosses seem to change their patterns up. I mean, they've always done that in the games where they have these repetition of different moves, but I feel like now it's like they reach a certain point and it's like something happens and the difference is very like, oh shit, what's going on? But I mean, another main thing that's really different is, in the other games you had like kind of like your mana pool for magic users, which has always been there. But now, people that use weapons, so strength builds and stuff, they have actually an ability to do, I forget, it's like weapon charge. And different weapons and different things have an ability that uses stuff from that mana pool as well. And then to tie that in, normally when you have the Eustace Flask for your health, now you have 3 of those and 1 for your mana, so you can heal your mana. And you can actually, at the blacksmith, you can actually change that. You can make it so you have 2, like say you have 4 total. You can have 2 of the magic and 2 for your healing. Or you just all want to use healing and you don't want to use your magic. And then as you get the stuff to make more Eustace Flasks, you can kind of change the balance of that. So that's kind of like, I think, the 2 biggest things that are different. It's not major, but it's there. And then the other thing that's different, but it's kind of the same, is that I feel like this game kind of combines essence of exploration and the way the world is set up in this game with Demon Souls, Dark Souls, and Dark Souls 2. I can elaborate on that if need be.
So like a lot of the lore from the other 2 games.
Yes, especially part 1. If you've played the first one, there's a lot of lore to kind of pick on and things in the environment, just like the other games. Of course, this is Dark Souls. It's not going to have cutscenes and cinematics that really drive home a story. It's more for you to figure out in the item descriptions and what's in the environment. But you'll see some key things that if you played the original, particularly, you will possibly pick up on. But when I talk about exploration and stuff, like, okay, so for example, Demon Souls was a hub-based game. And in Demon Souls, you picked a location through these like portals, and you would go to these different locations and open new areas in those locations. In Dark Souls 1, you would start in this area, you'd go through a bunch of places, next thing you know, you'd get a shortcut, and you'd be back at the beginning of the area of Dark Souls 1. You were like, how did that happen? And then you'd go down another way, and it might connect, and it was this really intricate, connected open world, sort of, that you wouldn't even realize you're there until you open that shortcut and take an elevator down. Then Dark Souls 2 still has a little bit of those moments, but kind of more imagine like a tree branch. You'd go down it and there'd be different offshoots. So what I mean when I say they combine all these is it's kind of like, well, there's a hub, just like in Demon Souls, and Dark Souls 2 had a hub also, but there's a hub, and you can go to the different locations via that hub, but then also each location, it is kind of more linear in the fact of you'll get to one location, then you'll go and do something and figure out an area, and you'll get to the next location. So you might start the game and think, man, this game is like really linear. I don't know what's going on. But I'm telling you, once you hit Undead Settlement, which is one of the areas after you go down, you initiate a cutscene. You go down this one area, and it's like huge. You'll go one way, and then there might be another path, and then there might be a ladder and all that. So there's different shortcuts and a vaster hub-like exploration and levels connected to these tree branches, and then there's still a main core hub. Did that make any sense?
Absolutely.
Okay. Glad we're tracking.
Having played a little bit of it myself, I totally get a lot of people feel that it is linear from the beginning, but then
yeah,
even though I've died where I've made it, I've found a lot of staircases, shortcuts back to where I was.
It's scary.
It is scary because there's so much in these games, and again, just like the rest of them, this one doesn't tell you anything.
No, it doesn't. And I think that the interesting thing, like you the other day, you were like, "Oh, I'm dying, and I didn't make any progress." I always have to wonder, like, when people say that, I'm like, well, what kind of progress are we talking about? Because I kind of lump progress into two factors with this game. One is getting further in the game, literally, and seeing more stuff, fighting more bosses, finding more weapons. That's good progress and like kind of like story/campaign progress. But then I also get to the point where progress level up wise, like I might get through an area and don't get an extra bonfire to unlock a new shortcut or whatever. But if I was able to kill enough enemies and get my ass back in gear to get those souls and then level up, I feel like that is at least some progress. You know what I mean? Because I'm now stronger because of that. So.
Oh, absolutely. And my suggestion of I didn't make any progress is I literally made it to a point and did not get any souls.
Get anything.
Yep. I just died, lost all my souls, went back to get them, and the point I'm at, and for people who are sensitive to spoilers, there's a giant dragon. And he's breathing fire down my pathway. Which makes it very hard for me to get in and out of these areas. So, as I'm doing right now, I'm trying to run past this fire. Which leads me up to this big giant... And in the video, I just literally ran into an enemy that turned into a creature that looked like the boss you fight straight out of the game.
Yes. Now you can, if you run up to... Once you know that one of those guys turns into that, if you run up to them quickly enough and kill them with a swipe, they won't turn. So you can kind of circumvent that.
I hit him once, and then he turned into a giant snake hand.
Yeah, you have to hit him like twice, I think. It's like slash. But, I mean, that's the thing I always like about these games is it's very... It's brutal, very brutal, and I do feel this one eased us into it a little bit easier. I mean, when you get to the next area that I'm talking about, after you were to get through this area, and the boss, it's kind of like I don't know if you call him the guard, but the guy that's going to guard to the next point where you'll go to, you get to that area and you'd be like, holy crap, there's a lot of different ways to go. So, I mean, it gives you that false sense of security, like, hey, this is easy, hey, this isn't so bad. And then right around that time you're talking about on the video with the fire-breathing dragon, like that's where, when I was first starting to play, I was like, okay, it's already starting. I get it, okay. Because up until that, I was like, I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine. This is pretty easy. And then those things started coming into play. And then the dude that transforms comes into play. Yes, that's everything kind of starts kicking into hardcore mode. So.
Yep, and you'll see in the video just now, hardcore mode.
Oh, did you just die?
I fell and was attacked by one giant dude with a spear and two fast assassin dudes and a dude with a shield.
That's not so bad for a day's work.
Yeah, so at this point, 8 minutes into this conversation, I have yet to make any progress. And I wonder if it's because, I've tried and tried to love these games because I think they're very visually interesting. I think they're very... Even gorgeous. Combat is very interesting to me. But it is so unforgiving and sometimes cheap because they will put enemies in places where you can't see them.
Oh, yeah. It's all about learning. It's very much a trial and error type of game in a lot of ways. Not exactly every way, but it's definitely... That's like part of the learning experience. You go down a hallway, this thing leaps out at you. Well, fuck. Now you know that if when you come back, because you inevitably will die, you know that okay, there's an enemy around that corner. You should see when I play Souls games because especially when I'm I don't know where I'm going. I'm very like slow. I'm like looking around corners and I'm like, even though the only game that I ever probably wasn't like that. I mean, I was like that a little bit, but because Bloodborne was more of an offensive game and required you to be a little bit more non-defensive and more offensive, I was actually a little bit faster, I think, paced in going through that game and just kind of moving forward. But this game, I'm back to the Dark Souls. I'm back to like, okay, very much because I don't know. I didn't think it happened as much in Bloodborne, but in the Dark Souls games, it's always been known for environmental stuff to affect you, whether that's either something the enemies do or something that is like falling apart or something that's crashing like booby traps. It's just always one of those things. And not to mention, on that note, this game is, obviously these games have that dark fantasy. In the Undead Settlement, there's an area you go into, and there are body bags hanging everywhere, and it's dark, and you hear flies buzzing, and I was just like, I don't want to be here. It's like, I don't want to be here because A, it's scary, and B, I don't know what's in here.
Oh yeah, and to go back to what you said about Bloodborne, like I actually felt a lot more comfortable in Bloodborne, and probably because it is very offense, and also having what seemed like infinite blood vials, like seriously.
Yeah, it's not infinite, but yeah, more than the Eustace flasks, for sure.
Yes, I have 3, and I have 1. We'll flip through to the Ashen flask.
Yes, and that's the one you can change depending what you want more of. By the blacksmith. But no, and you're right, and in Bloodborne you were rewarded for being offensive, because when you hit enemies you had a grace period where you could actually regain some health from attacking them as soon as you got hit. So yeah, the definite feel of that is same but similar but not. So Dark Souls, I find myself creeping around a lot more. But I mean, the bosses in this game are great. I haven't even finished the game completely. I've put time in between all versions. Obviously, to get the elephant out of the room, the Xbox version, you're going to hear people, oh, the Xbox version is the worst version. Technically, it is. But I've been playing it, no problems. There's frame rate issues every once in a while. That's what you're showing right now, right?
Yeah, I'm playing on Xbox One, and
yeah.
I just made it to a bonfire.
Oh, we made progress.
We did, and it's weird because it's a place that I've walked past at least 50 times.
And you didn't notice?
I'd never noticed that it was there.
And then you want to know when you shouldn't play Dark Souls games? There's your sign.
All right, so I've made progress.
Kidding.
This is literally the first time I've made progress since I got out of Firelink.
Now, isn't that always a good feeling though when you find one of those?
It is, and it's lit, so I can come back here
whenever you want.
And I just wonder if it's one of those trade-offs. I talked about this on the podcast. Like I want to love these games, I really do, and I really wish. And I know people crucify me for this, but I really wish there was like an easy mode.
I know, and I don't know. You might want to check out maybe the modding community for PC versions. I don't know if they exist, but I would think somebody out there would create like some kind of mod to be like, well, here's an easy mode, or here's where you just walk through. Because you're right, the games are gorgeous, and the funny thing about it is this series, and 3 is definitely to showcase this, is that they're not the most technically amazing looking games, but their art design is phenomenal.
Oh, absolutely. I 100% agree with that. I've liked all of them.
And their enemy designs are terrifying. Like, some of the most creative enemies I've ever seen in gaming is from the Souls game or from Software. So, this is one of those things. This is supposedly the last Dark Souls game that they are done with the franchise, or at least as it is known as Dark Souls. Maybe this type of gameplay they'll do other genre or / themes, but this is supposed to be the last of the actual Dark Souls like story content and environment. And that saddens me, but at the same time, I am curious to see what else they could do, because I mean they've been riding the Dark Souls pony for a while now, ever since Dark Souls 1 or Demon Souls and then Dark Souls 1. But I from some people aren't familiar that From Software used to make a lot of various games, a lot. Like,
yeah, they even have a Tenchu under their belt.
Yeah, I mean, they've got that. They had, like, Ninja Blade, and they have old stuff on Xbox, and they have Kingsfield, which Kingsfield feels like this was a progression from Kingsfield, because Kingsfield games were fucking hard as shit, too.
Yeah, I remember back in the day, people were like, you should play Kingsfield, it's really good. And I'm like, yeah, it's really good. How far did you make it? Like level 1.
You just made this really uncomfortable for me.
Yeah, pretty much.
And so I feel like these games are an extension of that, those roots for that. But I mean, they made like Otogi on the Xbox, the original Xbox, and they have quite a repertoire of titles. They even do the Armored Core, don't they, or no?
They did do them. I do believe some other people have done some.
Yes. So, I mean, I'd like to see them do some more stuff, but I do love what they got here going. But I do feel for people that they can't get far in them because of the difficulty, and I was one of those people. I have not beat Demon Souls or Dark Souls 2 yet. Dark Souls 1 is the game that really kind of pulled me in when I had a ton of time to play it overseas. But and that's not to say I got fairly far in Demon Souls, and I've gotten a decent way in Dark Souls 2. And I don't say that as in like, oh, I didn't like those games, but I say that as I understand the pain, because when Demon Souls came out, I had problems. I was like, I'm dying. I got really frustrated a lot. I was like, I love the idea, but damn. So now, Dark Souls 2 is just one of those I just ran out of time and I never got back to it, but I still own it. And so I'm hoping to fully, completely just destroy Dark Souls 3. But it's just a long game, and I've been jumping between the different versions. So, yeah.
All right. Well, we are right at time.
Awesome.
So that was very, very informative, and I'm sure people will enjoy watching me die over and over and over again.
I can't wait to watch you die.
Oh, it's brutal to watch me play this. Maybe you being the aficionado, you can watch it and tell me what I'm doing so wrong, because I feel like I play it like it's supposed to be played. I'm constantly guarding. I'm constantly moving around enemies. Here's this big guy. I'm going to show him one last time, but he is massive. Like, the first time I ran into him, he's like, what did they call it in the first Dark Souls? Like the Black Knight or whatever.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I run into him by the dragon here, and he is just brutal.
You haven't seen nothing yet.
Oh, I know. I'm fully aware that these games, the stuff I see early is nothing. And here I'm going to die again. There we go.
I'm gonna give you some applause because you tried. And you know what? I will admit, to be the first to admit, that playing a Dark Souls game when you're not concentrating or you're tired is a really bad way to die really quickly. So.
All right. Well, that is Dark Souls 3. Continue to tune into these. We're actually going to be doing a lot of them. If you guys have games that you want us to talk about, I know there's a lot of good ones out this week. Ratchet and Clank. Mm-hmm. I'm hearing really good things about the Stories game.
Oh, yes, I've been playing that too. Very, very good.
Yes, I was coaxed into buying it. So I think Drew and I are going to do one for that.
Awesome.
But if you do have suggestions, hit us up on Twitter. Let us know. Let us know what you think of these, and tune in next time.
Bye-bye.